Here we have the Dyson high torque drive. It comes with your V10 depending on what area you live in. It comes with your V11 and V15. Just showing you the gates open and close. So what you have to do is you're going to need a coin, a flathead screwdriver or something to turn this area anti-clockwise, a quarter to take out the head. So one side comes off and one side's a lot shorter, one side's really long, so you can't go wrong. So if you put it in the wrong side, it just doesn't work, and it doesn't break anything, so you don't have to be scared. So to put it back, just put it back like that, and you need to rotate the cap to close it, and that's basically it. Please note, if you haven't removed it for a while, it can get stuck and it's a bit hard to remove, as I have seen on the older ones or the worn ones. It's actually really difficult to remove, and I actually need to get a flathead screwdriver just to pry it out. So that can happen. So now we're going to have to remove the screws on the wheel. So the screws on the wheel are Phillips head screwdrivers. Once you remove the screw, you can wiggle the wheel out. So there's actually nothing holding the wheel down, it's just tension basically. So if you wiggle it out slowly, it'll come out. There's actually this thing on top. It's just a plastic cap, nothing special. It's recommended that you leave your screw and everything as is, so that you don't get it, you don't forget about it, or when you put it back you don't misplace something, as it does happen. So we're just flipping to the other side to remove. It can be a bit hard for some people, so don't be shocked. Next, we need to remove the screw here under the label. This is a Torque T8 screw. So if you lift up it's actually the warranty sticker label up, and use your Torque T8 screwdriver, you can take it out. Next, we need to remove the two screws under here. These are also Torque T8 screws. So you're going to have to remove the two side screws, which are Phillips head. So to remove these clips, you actually can pull up the corners, and it should pop out slightly for you to push your hand in to take it out. If you find it too difficult, you can get a flathead screwdriver or a prying tool to pry it out slightly. So after you take it out, it slides. There's actually rails on it, so guides and rails. So it needs to be slotted in here for you to put it back. So when you slot it in, then the inner side has to go in first, as it has a tab here. So once that tab goes in, you can then push the outside down and it should clip in. Oh, it doesn't clip in, it just goes down, as there's no clips. But to remove it, you just lift the corner up and it should come out pretty easily. It might be difficult, and you can use, like myself, use a flathead screwdriver just to pry it out. And once again showing you the inner side goes in first, diagonally. Once the inner side goes in, you can push it in or slide it in deeper, and you close it down. Next, we have to bend this back, and there's actually 4 screws here, and they're 4 flathead screwdrivers, or flathead screws. Oh, sorry, not flathead screws. 4 Phillips head screws. Remember to put your screws separately so you remember which screw goes where. Now that we remove those 4 screws, we now take off this. You can just slide it out. It does have like a rail sort of ish, but yeah, it slides out pretty simple. Next, we need to remove the 2 inner screws, and you need a Torx T8 screwdriver for that. Once we remove that, we can slide this part out. Please note there's actually another screw on the inside that you need to remove as well. So that's also Torx T8. This screw here is actually hidden for most people, because if you use your head, the dirt actually covers the screw. So now that once we remove it, oh, I forgot to remove the 2 screws here behind the wheel. They are Torx T8 screws. You need to remove the wheel and these 2 screws, as once you remove these 2 screws, this area can actually move up and down. Just to show you like this, it moves up and down that much. If you don't move up and down that much, you actually can't take parts out. So now that we removed that, we push it back, so we can now slide this out. It might be hard for you or difficult. You can use a prying tool if you need to, but it's unnecessary. So to put it back, you put the 2 corners in first, the two outsides. They actually slide in. And to take it out, you just pull it out and it should come out. This also depends on how old or how new is your Dyson as well, as Dyson head, as it can be difficult to remove. Next, we need to remove these 4 screws here, which are Torx T8 screws. Now that we remove it, we're going to turn it over, and you can. We need to remove these wires. You can now lift the plastic cover up once you remove it. When you lift the plastic cover up, the front will also come off as well. The front where the buttons are, or the latches to open and close. So, once you do that, you can lift this off. Before we do that, I'm going to show you how to replace it. So to replace it, you need to lift this up so it closes the gap. Once the gap is closed, you can now put your plastic cover on top. Please align your plastic cover correctly. Now to put this back, this is a bit difficult. There's actually guides on this. Put the red feet back in. You need to align the red feet with the holes on the thingamajiggo. You want the red feet to be in the center, close to as possible. You need to align it from the top, and once you align it, you can push it down. It's a lot easier if you have it in front of you. And remember, once you push it down, you need to test it works. If it doesn't work, it means you screwed up and you need to do it again. So I'm just going to remove it again. Please don't remove this black string. It's actually your seal. If you remove it, you will not be able to return it. If you happen to remove it, then too bad. That's fine. It's not the end of the world, but it's recommended do not remove it. So to remove the motor, we have to remove this part. There's a black rubber thing here that goes inside. To put it back in, you actually have to put it in diagonally, as one side has a clip and the other doesn't. So you put this back like this. There's actually cutouts on the plastic housing for you to put the neck back in. So now to remove the wheels. So to remove the wheels, it's actually a bit difficult. You're going to need some stick to poke the inner side of it. So what I'm using is my flathead screwdriver. You're going to need a hammer, or depending how old or new your thing is, it's not as stuck. So I'm just going to get my hammer to knock it out. So it hasn't came out enough yet, so I'm just going to get my hammer to knock it out more. So once it comes out diagonally, we now need to get pliers to remove the stick inside. So you might have to pry it out slightly more. So here with my pliers, I can now pull out the stick. So you probably have to leave your prying tool there so it stays diagonally up. Once it's up, get your pliers, pull on the stick. So pull on the stick comes out, and now you can take out the wheel. So now to put it back in, just slide the stick back into the wheel. Put the stick back in diagonally. You might have to put the wheel in first. So you slide it in diagonally, and now we have to push the stick back into place. This might be hard for you. As you can see, it's a bit hard for me, so I'm going to get my hammer to knock it back down. So I'm just getting my hand. After a few attempts, I managed to get it in. Now, to put it back, we're going to get our motor and the neck back in place. Please note that the neck is supposed to sit in this groove. So you can put the neck in first. Make sure the neck's in place properly. Next, we need to put this in. This is going slightly diagonal. Please note only one side has a clip, the other side doesn't have anything. So you have to get the one side in properly. And the other side, it actually just sits in place. That's why it looks like it's touching the ground, but once you get your plastic cover on top, it actually holds it up. So align everything. And then put your hand in to lift up the motor, so it can actually sit down properly. So once you press your plastic cover down, it should hold the motor in place. Make sure you turn the neck part to ensure that it's actually in place properly. You can check it by turning it to see if it turns around smoothly. You also need to line up your string correctly as well. On the clear plastic, there's actually guides to hold the string there. So for this part, make sure your lever is in the lowest position possible, so the holes, it's easier to reach to. You need to make sure both of your red tabs are in the center, close to the center. You can now put it on top. If you align it correctly and push down, it should snap in place. Once it's snapped in, remember to open and close your gates to ensure that it works. If it doesn't work, it means you stuffed up, so do it again. Now that we are done with that, we're going to put this clip back on, so it can lock everything in place. Now we need to screw everything in. So we need to screw these 4 screws in. These are your Torque T8 screwdrivers. So I'm putting these 2 screws back into. They also Torque T8. So I'm trying to do all the Torque T8s at once, so I don't have to go back to it. With these 6 screws in place, your housing should be quite secure. You need to put the center one back in. Remember, the center screw is actually the smallest one there. So now I'm doing the 2 screws for the neck, which are also Torque T8. So I'm putting the 2 screws behind the wheel. So with this, you have to glide it in place. Once you put it in place, you can now flip it back, as there's like tabs that hold it in place, you can say. This is your Phillips screws. There's 4 Phillips screws that hold this plastic thing, or this rubber thingamajigger inside. Now we have to put our covers for this on, and you have to slide it in. Once you slide it in, you put the inner side in first. It goes in diagonally. Once the inner side goes in first, you can then slide in the rest and push down the outer side, and should go in. So align on the rail, put in the inner sides in first, and push it in, and it should go in. You need your Phillips head screws, 1 on each side. Now we have to put the screw in the center, back in. The one under the warranty sticker. This is a Torque T8 screw. Now we can put the 2 wheels back. We can use Phillips head screws. Put our head back in, push it all the way in, rotate our thing to lock it in place. You can use your coin or whatever you want to tighten it, and that's about it. Thanks for watching my video.